All right, welcome to your deep dive. We've got some pretty intense lyrics to unpack today,
Yeah, definitely intense.
all about Down syndrome. And, well, get ready for some serious feels because we're going deep into the love and the challenges, all of it.
Music can be so powerful,
Yeah.
like when words just aren't enough.
Yeah, and these songs, they just hit you right in the heart, right from those first lines.
Absolutely.
There's just this overwhelming sense of love, that fierce, like, nothing else matters kind of love. Eres todo, todo para mí, and eres perfecta en tu propia forma. I mean, wow, right?
Yeah, there's no holding back.
But is that, like, just poetic license? Or do you think that kind of intense love really has an impact on people with Down syndrome?
Oh, it definitely has an impact.
Really?
Research actually shows that family support is critical. Like, it's the foundation for their whole development.
So it's not just, like, a nice feeling. It's actually crucial.
Exactly. When a child feels loved and accepted for who they are, it makes such a difference.
Especially when, and these songs kind of hint at this, when the world isn't always so understanding, right?
Right.
It's almost like in the lyrics, the parent is celebrating their child, but also shielding them from judgment at the same time.
Yeah, I see.
Like, las miradas se clavan en ti and ignoran lo que tú eres. It's tough to hear.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of facing the world's gaze.
Yeah, honestly, those lines reflect a pretty harsh reality, don't they?
Sadly, yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about Down syndrome out there.
So these lyrics are more than just personal feelings. They're like a commentary on how people with Down syndrome are treated.
Absolutely. It's like the songwriter is pleading with the listener, See the real person, see the verdad.
See beyond those surface level assumptions.
Exactly.
And then the songs kind of shift gears, don't they? They go from that tension to celebrating all those things that make someone unique, like tus pasos son más lentos and tu voz se escucha diferente. But it's not framed as a bad thing. It's beautiful.
It is. It's like, this is what makes you special, and we love every bit of it.
And you know what's interesting? That ties into what research is showing us now about individuals with Down syndrome.
Really?
Yeah, they have such diverse abilities and strengths. It might be different, but it's definitely not a deficit.
Right. It's just different.
It's like the lyrics are saying, open your mind. There's more here than you might think.
Exactly. And speaking of seeing more, both versions of the song talk about the power of the child's smile.
Oh man, those lines about the smile just killed me. They're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Tu sonrisa es lo que nos salva, con tu sonrisa llenas de calor. It's like this pure joy, Nothing can touch it.
I think it speaks to that universal language of connection.
Like a smile can cut through all the noise and the judgment.
Exactly. It reminds us that no matter our differences, we all crave that connection.
And in a world that feels so divided sometimes, that's a powerful message.
It really is like a little reminder that those simple things, like a genuine smile, can make such a difference.
Okay, I'm already getting emotional here, but there's one more thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
There are these lines about not always finding the words, Aunque a veces no encuentras palabras, o aunque no hables siempre claro. And it made me think, are they talking literally about communication challenges with Down syndrome?
Well, I think it's both, actually.
Both.
On one level, yeah, sometimes individuals with Down syndrome might struggle to communicate verbally. But it also speaks to something we all experience sometimes, Like when you just can't find the words.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like when you're trying to say something deep or you're overwhelmed with emotion.
Exactly.
And maybe those lyrics are reminding us that sometimes understanding goes beyond just words, right?
Right. We communicate in so many ways. Facial expressions, gestures, body language.
All those nonverbal cues.
And for individuals with Down syndrome, those can be even more important.
And there are other ways to communicate too, right? Like sign language or visual aids.
Absolutely. There's a whole world of tools and strategies out there.
It's like learning a new language, one that goes beyond just talking.
And the lyrics even hint at that, with lines like, en un mundo que no sabe mirar and no entienden lo que llevas dentro.
Like saying, the most important things aren't always spoken.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that tension again, right?
Yeah.
The world not always seeing or understanding what's inside.
Unfortunately, that's a real struggle for many individuals with Down syndrome and their families.
Because people just don't understand.
And a lot of it comes down to lack of awareness, People might form opinions based on stereotypes or limited interactions.
Instead of seeking out accurate information, real experiences.
Exactly.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get from misunderstanding to true understanding and acceptance?
Well, I think these lyrics offer a starting point, you know?
How so?
By sharing these personal stories, these raw emotions, these glimpses into real lives.
We can challenge those misconceptions.
Exactly, and open people's hearts and minds.
Like that line about the child being un regalo del cielo, a gift from heaven. That's more than just a sweet phrase. It speaks to how much individuals with Down syndrome can impact those around them.
And we hear that a lot from families.
Really?
They talk about the incredible joy, the resilience, the unique perspectives their loved ones bring.
It's like a reminder that diversity is a good thing, that difference isn't something to fear.
It's something to celebrate.
And that's a message that goes way beyond just Down syndrome, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's about embracing our shared humanity.
Recognizing that everyone has something unique to offer.
And creating a world where everyone feels valued, you know? Like they can truly be themselves.
Wow, these lyrics have taken us on quite a journey already.
Yeah.
From that deep parental love to the challenges of misunderstanding, and then ultimately to this beautiful message of acceptance.
It's powerful stuff.
But before we get too deep into all that, I want to go back to that line that really got me. Para mí, eres la estrella más bella.
For me, you are the most beautiful star.
It's so simple, yet so profound.
I know. It's like it cuts through everything else, all the labels, the diagnoses.
And it's just pure love.
Yeah, just seeing the inherent beauty and worth in another person.
It makes you wonder, what if we all saw each other that way? What kind of world could we create?
That's a great question. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if we could all just see that inherent beauty in each other?
It's a beautiful thought, and it kind of ties back to those lines we were talking about before, about not always finding the words.
Right, aunque a veces no encuentras palabras.
Yeah, and aunque no hables siempre claro.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's reminding us that words aren't everything.
Exactly. We communicate in so many ways. It's not just about talking.
Right, like those nonverbal cues you mentioned.
Exactly. Facial expressions, gestures, all of that.
And for individuals with Down syndrome, maybe those cues are even more important.
They can be, yeah, because sometimes verbal communication can be a challenge.
And there are other ways to help with that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's sign language, visual aids, even technology can play a role these days.
So it's like, even if those traditional words aren't always there are still ways to connect to understand each other.
Exactly. And you know, when we open ourselves up to those different ways of communicating, it can actually make us more empathetic.
More understanding of each other.
Right, because it forces us to really pay attention, to go beyond just the words themselves.
That's a good point.
And you know, those lyrics actually touch on that too, the idea that sometimes understanding goes beyond words.
Oh yeah. Which ones?
Like, en un mundo que no sabe mirar en... No entienden lo que llevas dentro. It's like saying, sometimes what's most important can't be put into words.
It's felt, not spoken.
Exactly.
There's that tension again, right? The feeling that the world doesn't always see what's truly there.
Sadly, yeah, and that's a big part of the struggle that individuals with Down syndrome and their families face.
Because people just don't get it.
A lot of it comes down to lack of awareness, lack of exposure.
So people form their opinions based on what? Like stereotypes and limited interactions.
Unfortunately, yeah, instead of seeking out real information, real experiences.
So how do we change that? How do we move from misunderstanding to genuine acceptance?
Well, these lyrics offer a powerful starting point, don't they?
How so?
By sharing these personal stories, these raw emotions, we can start to break down those misconceptions.
It's like opening a window into a different world.
A world that maybe people haven't seen before.
And hopefully, by seeing it, by understanding it, we can start to change those perceptions.
Exactly. Because the more we learn, the more we realize that we're all more alike than we are different.
Right, like that line about the child being un regalo del cielo, a gift from heaven.
That's a beautiful one.
It's not just a sweet sentiment. It speaks to the impact that individuals with Down syndrome can have on the world.
And families talk about that all the time. The joy, the resilience, the unique perspectives their loved ones bring.
It's like a reminder that diversity is a strength, not a weakness.
Exactly. Difference isn't something to be feared, it's something to be celebrated.
And that message goes way beyond just Down syndrome, doesn't it?
It really does. It's about embracing our shared humanity.
Recognizing that everyone has something valuable to offer.
And creating a world where everyone feels seen, valued, and empowered to be their true selves.
It's a powerful message, and these lyrics have really driven that home.
They have, haven't they? It's amazing how music can do that, you know?
Yeah, it can really move you in ways that words sometimes can't.
Exactly. It can connect us on a deeper level, tap into those shared emotions and experiences.
Like, even if you don't understand every word of these songs, you can still feel the emotion, the love, the struggle, the hope.
And I think that's what makes them so powerful.
But, you know, for you listening, I want to challenge you to go beyond just listening.
Oh.
Seek out stories and experiences of individuals with Down syndrome.
Learn from them, connect with them.
Let yourself be challenged by what you discover.
Because there's so much beauty and possibility waiting to be explored when we open our hearts and minds to difference.
It's about seeing the world through a different lens, isn't it?
It is, and realizing that our shared humanity is far greater than any perceived differences.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredibly moving so far.
It has, hasn't it?
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that line that really struck me. Para mí, eres la estrella más bella.
For me, you are the most beautiful star.
It's so simple, yet so powerful.
It is. It's like a pure expression of love, you know, seeing beyond all the labels and just recognizing the inherent worth of another human being.
It makes you wonder, what if we all approached each other with that same level of love and acceptance?
What kind of world could we create?
That's a beautiful question to ponder.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you think, like, what would the world be like if we all just, you know, saw each other that way?
And you know what? It's interesting because these lyrics, even though they're specifically about a child with Down syndrome, they touch on these universal themes, you know, love, acceptance, celebrating what makes us different.
That's true.
It's like it's a specific experience, but the message goes way beyond that.
It does. It really speaks to all of us.
These lyrics have given us a lot to think about, haven't they?
You really have.
Not just about Down syndrome, but about how we treat each other, how we see the world.
And the power we all have to create a more compassionate society, right?
Exactly. And I think that's the magic of music, isn't it?
It is. It can be so powerful.
It can transcend language, culture, all of that. And it taps into those emotions, those experiences that connect us as humans.
Like, even if you don't understand every word of these songs, you can still feel what they're saying.
Yeah, it's like the emotions are woven into the music itself.
Right.
But for you, listening, I want to challenge you to go beyond just listening to these songs.
Go further,
Yeah, seek out stories of individuals with Down syndrome, you know.
Learn from them, connect with them.
Listen to their voices, their perspectives.
Open yourself up to something new.
Let yourself be challenged by what you discover.
Because there's so much beauty waiting to be explored when we do that.
When we open our hearts and minds to difference.
It's about expanding our understanding.
Exactly. And realizing that what connects us is far greater than any differences we might see.
And I think that's a great place to leave it.
This deep dive has been, well, it's been pretty emotional.
It has.
But in a good way, you know? It's really opened my eyes.
Yeah, to the power of music, to move us, to connect us, to inspire change.
Beautifully said. And thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.